Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're going to talk about barbecue at the Radiant Citadel. All right, let's get into this. All right, so I am so excited for the Radiant Journeys through the Radiant Citadel, the new Dungeons & Dragons book that's coming up, right? I'm very excited about this because it was written by P.O. It's the first book in history. I'm 100% in support of this. I do think there was some missteps in the execution of how this was done, right? But actually, there have been missteps in every single Dungeons & Dragons product that's ever been created, right? But overall, I really think this is a very noble goal, right? To have a Dungeons & Dragons book that is 100% created by POCs, right? People of color, black and brown, okay? So why is that okay? Well, first of all, ain't no mystery. We've had a few books that were written only by white guys, or like D&D books. I think that list is quite long, right? So we definitely, and I think you probably go to get that list like right in 5th edition. You don't even have to go back any editions to get that list, right? So it's very good that we finally are getting a Dungeons & Dragons book that is created only by POCs, people of color, and black and brown, right? All right, so Ajit George went on Teos Abadia's podcast, Mastering Dungeons, and he did an hour-long interview. It was fantastic, and it gave us a really new, fresh vision of what Radiant Citadels is. At first, we were like, I think they were like, oh, Radiant Citadel is going to be like this, just a gigantic, stellar location filled with flowers and unicorns and rainbows, right? But that is very much starting to not be the case, and we are seeing, the truth of it and what is actually going to be in the Radiant Citadel. And the Radiant Citadel, it doesn't have monsters. It's not going to have monsters, but it's going to have horrible, horrific obstacles for your player characters to get through, right? It's a gritty, dark realm. But the darkness doesn't come, it's literally the Radiant Citadel, right? But the darkness and the scary parts of Radiant Citadel to get excited about are very subtle, right? Not like your normal Dungeons & Dragons, right? Normal Dungeons & Dragons, you're in a scary place where it's going to be hard to survive, and you are faced with torments every day that you must overcome. Radiant Citadel is no different. The terror is subtle. The terror is different. Here it is. Ajit George just exposed the darkest part of the Radiant Citadels. It's vegan. There's no meat there, right? It's very hard, if not impossible, to get a hamburger, right? Like to get a steak, to get mutton, right? The people of the Radiant Citadel are primarily vegan, right? Now, if you're a druid, or if you're an elf, if your player character is a druid, or your player character is an elf, you're fine, right? Enjoy your twigs and berries. If you are a beefy bugbear paladin, if you are a huge 300-pound muscled human barbarian, welcome to the darkest place you've ever been. You will be hit with exhaustion on day 2, and your exhaustion levels will only go up by 1 every single day. What? That is terrifying, right? So the idea that the Radiant Citadel is kind of like this nice place where you're kind of get a break from the dark, from the grim dark of regular Dungeons & Dragons, it's not true. A whole realm that's vegan is terrifying. It's really, really scary. It's frankly the scariest thing I've ever seen put in any D&D book ever, okay? Now, that's cool, right? So, and cool, dark, horrible environments where your character has to tooth and claw to survive. And trust, right? Your bugbear paladin is gonna have to tooth and claw to survive on Radiant Citadel. The twigs and berries ain't gonna cut it, right? No, right? So basically, how are you going to live in Radiant Citadel? Well, here's the kicker, right? Whenever there are dark, horrible obstacles in a Dungeons & Dragons game, the player characters are there to overcome them, right? And so first of all, I'm so excited about Radiant Citadel, and you don't have to wait for Radiant Citadel's books to start either introducing. You shouldn't wait for Radiant Citadel to drop. I do this in my campaigns right now. I was running Strixhaven in my Dungeons & Dragons game using the Strixhaven cards from Magic the Gathering 3 months before the book dropped, right? You should start, you should start putting Radiant Citadels into your game right now, right? You should put down the hooks that you're going to need to get your players to the Radiant Citadel. And one of the things you want to give them a heads up on is you can tell them the horror that awaits them and allow them to respond to it. So how do player characters save other non-player characters and player characters from the fate of not being able to eat, the horrible, horrific, terrifying fate of not having meat to eat, right? And suffering one level of exhaustion every single day because you can't put anything in your mouth that doesn't like taste bad or like just is repulsive or like doesn't taste good and doesn't give you the nutrients to live, right? How do you deal with that? Well, your player characters can provide the solution, right? So your player characters, because they're going to the Radiant Citadel, have the ability to jump to different worlds, right? So what they're going to do is they're going to start slays on trays. They go out, they slay monsters, they cut it up, they barbecue it, and they sell it at Radiant Citadel, transforming Radiant Citadel to a nice, comfortable, wonderful, nice place where human barbarians and bugbears can rest and get nutrients into their body, right? And this could be a great campaign where your player characters are going out to different worlds: Eberron, Ravnica, Theros, Exandria, Forgotten Realms. They're going on Spelljammer ships, and they're slaying creatures, bringing back the meat, roasting it over a pit in the middle of Radiant Citadel, and giving, terrified bugbear paladins and terrified human barbarians who are wondering how they're going to keep their 18 strength, and they give them a solution and a way to actually survive and beat the terror of veganism back. That's the way to do it. I can't wait for Radiant Citadels. I'm so excited. Are you excited for Radiant Citadels? Why? If you're not, why not? I'd love to hear. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.